Got your stick?
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. Ghostbusters wasn't just a comedy about catching ghosts. It was a production nightmare that nearly collapsed under its own supernatural chaos. Behind the laughs and the stay-puffed Marshmallow Man, Ivan Reitman's crew battled studio interference that threatened to turn the film into a $300 million futuristic disaster. Bill Murray disappeared for days without warning. Dan Aykroyd's original script was so insane it featured interdimensional travel and global ghost armies. Harold Ramis had to completely rewrite the entire premise just to make it filmable. Today, we're diving into 20 weird facts about Ghostbusters that reveal the absolute madness behind one of the most beloved comedies ever made. And stick around for the bonus fact that'll blow your mind about the real person who inspired this entire supernatural empire. Let's bust some myths. The original script was completely unfilmable. Dan Aykroyd's first draft reads like science fiction insanity. It wasn't set in modern New York. It was a futuristic world where ghost-busting teams operated globally like firefighters, battling massive interdimensional entities across multiple planets. The Ghostbusters weren't scrappy entrepreneurs starting from nothing. They were part of an established cosmic police force. Ivan Reitman took one look at the script and realized it would cost $300 million to produce. Not $30 million, $300 million. In 1983 dollars, that was essentially impossible. The studio would have laughed them out of the building. Harold Ramis was brought in specifically to ground the story in reality, stripping away the space travel and alien dimensions. What audiences see on screen is actually the scaled-down version of Aykroyd's supernatural epic. Bill Murray kept disappearing during production. Murray's unpredictability became legendary during filming, but not in a charming way. He would vanish without notice, leaving entire crews sitting idle for hours. One morning, Murray simply didn't show up to set. No phone call, no explanation. The assistant directors frantically searched Manhattan hotels and restaurants. They finally tracked him down at a Yankees game, sitting in the bleachers eating hot dogs like nothing happened. When confronted, Murray shrugged and said he felt like watching baseball instead of making movies that day. Ivan Reitman learned to build buffer days into the shooting schedule specifically for Murray's disappearances. The production insurance company nearly dropped coverage because of his erratic behavior. Slimer was originally called Onion Head. The green ghost terrorizing the Sedgwick Hotel never gets named in the actual film. The crew dubbed him Onion Head because of his putrid smell and grotesque appearance. But that wasn't his only behind-the-scenes nickname. Dan Aykroyd privately called Slimer the ghost of John Belushi. Aykroyd designed Slimer as a tribute to his deceased Saturday Night Live castmate, who died while Aykroyd was writing the script. Slimer's insatiable appetite mirrors Belushi's famous food fight scene from Animal House. His chaotic, destructive energy captures Belushi's manic comedy style. The role of Peter Venkman was originally written specifically for Belushi before his tragic overdose in 1982. Every time Slimer appears on screen, Aykroyd is honoring his lost friend. The Ghostbusters hotline received 1,000 calls per hour. When the commercial airs in the movie, viewers see the phone number 555-2368. That wasn't a fake movie number. Columbia Pictures actually set up that hotline during the film's theatrical release. The recorded message featured Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd explaining they were too busy busting ghosts to take calls. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The line received over 1,000 calls every single hour, 24 hours a day, for several weeks straight. Phone company technicians had to install additional circuits to handle the volume. Fans called from around the world, running up massive long-distance bills just to hear Murray's voice. The hotline became such a phenomenon that it generated its own newspaper coverage, creating free publicity worth millions. Eddie Murphy was supposed to be the fourth Ghostbuster. Winston Zeddemore was originally intended to appear much earlier in the film with a complete military backstory. The character was written as a former Air Force demolitions expert who joins the team before they capture Slimer at the Sedgwick Hotel. Eddie Murphy was offered the role first. Murphy's agent demanded script changes that would have given Winston equal screen time with the other three leads. When Murphy ultimately turned down the role, the studio pushed for Bill Murray to receive more prominent billing instead. This forced major rewrites that pushed Winston's introduction to much later in the film. Ernie Hudson got the part, but lost most of his character development. The military backstory was scrapped, leaving Winston as simply a guy who answered a want ad. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man nearly killed the crew. The climactic destruction scene required practical effects that pushed 1980s technology to its limits. The miniature Stay Puft suit was filled with shaving cream and corn syrup, creating a sticky, toxic mixture that caused severe allergic reactions in several crew members. The massive foam explosion covered the entire set in chemicals. 3 technicians required emergency medical treatment for respiratory problems. The fake marshmallow mixture contained industrial cleaning agents that burned exposed skin. Safety protocols were virtually non-existent by modern standards. Stunt coordinator Danny Aiello III later admitted they had no idea how dangerous the chemicals were until people started collapsing. The entire sequence had to be reshot multiple times because the practical effects kept malfunctioning catastrophically. Sigourney Weaver insisted on doing her own stunts. During the demonic possession sequences, Weaver performed most of Dana Barrett's supernatural contortions herself. She trained with professional dancers to achieve the unnatural body positions required for Zool's manifestations. The scene where she floats above her bed was accomplished using hidden wires and pulleys. Weaver spent weeks practicing the levitation choreography, resulting in severe muscle strain and back injuries. She refused stunt doubles because she believed the character's transformation required genuine physical commitment. The demonic voice was entirely Weaver's own, achieved through vocal coaching and throat exercises that left her hoarse for days after filming. Her commitment to the role's physicality helped establish the film's horror elements as genuinely terrifying rather than comedic. Rick Moranis improvised most of Louis Tully's dialogue. The party scene where Louis describes his apartment's supernatural activity was almost entirely improvised. Moranis created the character's neurotic personality on the spot, incorporating his own obsessions with accounting and mundane details. The script originally called for a brief explanation of the ghostly encounters. Instead, Moranis delivered a 5-minute monologue about tax write-offs and apartment lease agreements while being chased by demonic entities. Ivan Reitman loved the improvisation so much that he built additional scenes around Moranis's spontaneous characterizations. Most of Lewis's best lines were never written down. Moranis would arrive on set each day with new neurotic quirks and accounting jokes that made the final cut. The library scene was filmed in Los Angeles, not New York. The iconic opening sequence at the New York Public Library was actually shot at the Los Angeles Central Library. Budget constraints prevented the production from filming in Manhattan for extended periods. The elaborate library stacks and reading rooms were recreated on sound stages in Hollywood. What audiences see as authentic New York atmosphere was carefully constructed California movie magic. The library ghost actress spent hours in makeup that required special contact lenses and dental prosthetics. The transformation from elderly librarian to skeletal specter took over 4 hours to complete each day. The shocking reveal when she screams at the Ghostbusters was achieved using hydraulic mechanisms that launched the actress backward at dangerous speeds. The firehouse was actually a functioning station. The Ghostbusters headquarters at Hook and Ladder Company 8 was an active New York Fire Department station throughout filming. Real firefighters continued responding to emergency calls while cameras rolled. The production had to coordinate shooting schedules around actual fire department operations. Go ahead and like and subscribe because the behind-the-scenes chaos only gets more insane from here, and you won't believe how many times real emergencies interrupted filming. The firehouse scenes required elaborate negotiations with city officials and union representatives. Actual FDNY trucks appear in background shots because they couldn't be moved during emergency responses. The famous firehouse pole was installed specifically for the movie and remained after filming wrapped. Today, tourists can visit the station, but the current firefighters have mixed feelings about their building's Hollywood fame. Harold Ramis hated wearing the proton pack. The proton pack props weighed over 30 pounds each and caused severe back problems for the actors. Harold Ramis, who wasn't physically imposing like his co-stars, struggled with the equipment during long shooting days. The packs contained actual electronic components that generated heat and made wearing them extremely uncomfortable. Ramis frequently complained about the physical demands of the costume, joking that he became an actor to avoid manual labor. The weight distribution was poorly designed, causing the packs to dig into the actors' shoulders and backs during extended scenes. Several sequences had to be shortened because Ramis couldn't maintain the physical performance required. The technical complexity of the props also led to frequent malfunctions that stopped filming mid-scene. The Ecto-1 broke down constantly. The modified 1959 Cadillac ambulance looked perfect on screen, but was a mechanical nightmare. The car's aging engine and transmission couldn't handle the additional weight of the ghost-busting equipment. It broke down multiple times during filming, stranding the cast in Manhattan traffic. The Ecto-1's siren system was so loud it damaged the actors' hearing during interior shots. Bill Murray developed a permanent ear infection from prolonged exposure to the sirens. The car's electrical system was jury-rigged to power the roof equipment, causing frequent shorts that left the actors stuck without power. Backup vehicles were always on standby because the primary Ecto-1 was considered unreliable. The production spent more on car repairs than some entire scenes cost to film. Gozer was originally male. The demonic entity terrorizing New York was initially conceived as a male villain. Early script drafts described Gozer as a traditional masculine demon demanding worship and sacrifice. The gender change happened during casting when Ivan Reitman decided a female presence would be more unexpected and unsettling. Slavica Jovan, a professional model, was cast specifically for her otherworldly appearance and unusual height. The costume design emphasized Gozer's androgynous qualities, making the character's gender deliberately ambiguous. This creative decision reflected 1980s anxieties about changing gender roles and female power. The voice was electronically modified to sound neither completely male nor female, adding to the character's alien nature. Gozer's final form as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was chosen specifically to subvert expectations of traditional horror villains. The special effects team had no computer graphics. Every supernatural effect was created using practical techniques, miniatures, and optical compositing. The proton beam streams were hand-animated frame by frame using traditional animation cells. Stop-motion puppetry brought the terror dogs to life through painstaking manipulation. The supernatural entities required months of preparation for sequences that lasted seconds on screen. Slimer's floating movements were achieved using complex wire rigs and green screen technology that was revolutionary for 1984. The ghostly apparitions were created by filming actors in specialized makeup, then layering the footage using optical printers. This labor-intensive process meant that minor changes required weeks of additional work. Modern audiences don't realize how technically advanced the film was for its era. Dan Aykroyd's family inspired the entire concept. Aykroyd's great-grandfather was a documented spiritualist who conducted seances and claimed to communicate with the dead. His father, Peter Aykroyd Sr., published academic research on paranormal phenomena and ghost sightings. Dan grew up surrounded by supernatural beliefs and psychic research. The family's extensive library of occult books provided source material for the film's supernatural elements. Aykroyd genuinely believes in ghostly phenomena and designed the proton packs based on actual paranormal investigation equipment. His personal interest in UFOs and psychic phenomena informed the scientific approach the Ghostbusters take toward supernatural encounters. The character of Ray Stantz directly reflects Aykroyd's own enthusiastic belief in the paranormal. Bill Murray refused to rehearse any scenes. Murray's commitment to spontaneous performance created constant tension with director Ivan Reitman. He would arrive on set without having read the script changes and improvise his way through scenes. This approach drove his co-stars crazy because they couldn't prepare for his unpredictable reactions. Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd spent hours rehearsing their scientific dialogue while Murray ignored preparation entirely. His improvised lines often contradicted the established plot points, forcing last-minute script revisions. The famous dogs and cats living together speech was completely improvised during filming. Murray's unpredictability made him brilliant to watch but nightmarish to direct. Many of the film's funniest moments exist because Murray refused to stick to the written material. The containment unit explosion was real. The supernatural prison-holding captured ghosts was a practical effect that genuinely exploded during filming. The pyrotechnics team underestimated the force required to simulate the containment breach. The explosion was much larger and more dangerous than intended. Debris from the blast damaged nearby equipment and injured several crew members with flying fragments. The actors were positioned farther from the explosion than originally planned because safety coordinators realized the danger at the last minute. The spectacular destruction seen on screen represents genuine chaos and destruction that nearly shut down production. Emergency crews responded to the set because neighbors reported the explosion as a possible accident. Annie Potts created Janine's entire personality. The script described Janine Melnitz as simply a secretary. Annie Potts developed the character's distinctive Brooklyn accent, sarcastic attitude, and romantic interest in Egon entirely through improvisation. Her chemistry with Harold Ramis was unplanned but became a beloved subplot. Potts based Janine's look on 1960s fashion models, creating the character's distinctive glasses and hairstyle. The wardrobe department had to scramble to find period-appropriate clothing that matched Potts's vision. Her performance was so compelling that additional scenes were written specifically to showcase Janine's personality. The character became far more important to the story than originally intended because Potts made her so memorable. The film almost got an R rating. The MPAA initially wanted to give Ghostbusters an R rating because of the intense supernatural horror elements. The library ghost scene was considered too frightening for children. Several demonic possession sequences were deemed too sexually suggestive for a PG rating. Ivan Reitman fought extensively with the ratings board, arguing that the comedy balanced the horror effectively. Multiple cuts were made to tone down the scariest moments and reduce sexual innuendo. The terror dog transformation scenes were shortened to make them less disturbing. Gozer's costume was modified to be less revealing. The final PG rating was achieved only after significant editing that removed some of the film's darkest moments. Winston's role was drastically reduced. Ernie Hudson was originally promised equal billing with Murray, Aykroyd, and Ramis. The character of Winston was intended to be the team's practical, street-smart member who grounded their scientific theories in real-world experience. Early scripts featured Winston in the university scenes and the first ghost capture. Studio politics and Eddie Murphy's rejection of the role led to massive script revisions that marginalized Winston's importance. Hudson discovered his reduced role only when he arrived on set and found scenes had been rewritten or eliminated entirely. The fourth Ghostbuster became an afterthought rather than an equal partner. Hudson remained professional but was deeply disappointed by the changes that turned his substantial role into a supporting character. Bonus fact, the movie was cursed by real psychics. Dan Aykroyd consulted with actual paranormal investigators during pre-production, including members of the American Society for Psychical Research. Several psychics warned that creating a comedy about supernatural forces would invite real spiritual interference. They claimed the production was tempting fate by mocking the spirit world. Strange incidents plagued the set from the beginning. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation. Crew members reported feeling watched by unseen presences. The library location experienced unexplained cold spots and electromagnetic disturbances during filming. Most disturbing, several cast members had nightmares about ghostly encounters throughout production. Whether coincidence or something more supernatural, the people making a movie about ghosts found themselves genuinely spooked by their own creation. 40 years later, Ghostbusters endures not despite its chaotic production, but because of it. The improvisation, conflicts, and creative struggles created something unpredictable and genuinely magical. Every behind-the-scenes disaster contributed to a film that feels alive with authentic chemistry and spontaneous humor. Drop a comment if these facts surprised you, and hit that subscribe button for more movie secrets that'll change how you watch your favorite films. Remember, when something strange is happening in your neighborhood, there's probably an even stranger story about how it got made.